Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. We're back with a Wisdom Exchange 5. And this morning, I'm going to keep it short because my camera battery, unfortunately, I left it on and it's dead, so I have to recharge that. And I can't make any YouTube videos right now because my hard drive is locked. So, nevertheless, I'm using my webcam. So, I hope everyone's doing well. And today, we're going to look at a really interesting part of human nature. We're going to look at our own primitive nature from sleep, circadian cycles, the way we move, our diet, how we do stress and relaxation, and our social systems as humans. There's a lot to pack into 10 minutes. But just to give you an idea of how we evolved as a human and how we kind of naturally are built and integrated as a human species. So this will be super interesting, and also compared to nowadays, maybe the parts we are missing. So let's start then. You can see me in the bottom corner. Hello. And so what I also learned from last time is not to talk too abstract, but try to keep it simple and accessible as well, which will also help me in my presentation style. So the circadian rhythm, you'll see in my YouTube shorts, one of my first ones, I talked about circadian rhythm. You can see here how it starts, for example, at 6 a.m. in the morning. You'll see a lot of people nowadays, like a book called Miracle Morning, or in religious or spiritual traditions, they wake up early in the morning. For example, in Sikhism, they call it Amrita Vela, Vadhyai Vichar, which means like a big, wise knowledge or a lot of kind of brain space or capacity. If you look at circadian rhythm science as well, waking up at same time every morning with the sunrise, just like we did as our ancestors did, we're getting that blood pressure increase, we're getting that melatonin secreting stopping, and of course your bowel movement likely. And this circadian rhythm plays into all of the circadian biology, all of our organs in the body, how our stomach clock, how our liver, our pancreas, all our systems are in our body regularly. And not just the circadian rhythm, but also the times that we eat is also important. So we'll see that light exposure is super important in the morning to have. A lot of people nowadays are not getting that light exposure. So going out first thing in the morning starts to set your suprachiasmatic nucleus in your brain. So that's super important. High alertness at 10 a.m. So if you want to do any tasks, when you're waking up at that good time, 10 a.m. you'll have a sharp thing. I remember reading about students in exam having a high alertness at 10 a.m. Noon, of course, people have lunch that time, and of course no snacking in between as well, because that fasting period that we talk about in the diet also plays into that circadian biology as well. So our organs in our stomach having time to rest and digest. Then also our circadian rhythm dictates our best coordination and reaction time, our cardiovascular efficiency and muscle strength, and then seeing how our body temperature changes. And again, melatonin secretion starts. So that's why the blue light, from our screens, from our laptops, disrupt that circadian biology, disrupts the way we process our blood sugar, disrupts our blood pressure, disrupts our melatonin secretion. So it's super important to stop our light, 2 hours before bed, and then again having that deep sleep and making sure that we're like clockwork, just like our ancestors were in the savannah and the caves, and previous civilizations as well. So if you're interested, go ahead. You can see tons and tons of really good graphs, even cortisol, how disorders play into this, how light therapy play into that. When I was in Finland, um, when my research and development, I was speaking to the guys there, how they manage the circadian biology, and that caused me to buy a Philips lamp that actually helps wake up gradually and with a Philips Hue light bulb. So you can certainly implement systems in your life that can help when you're in the northern countries, especially when our maybe biology, like myself, is maybe more used to that Indian time zone, just north between the equator and the Tropic of Capricorn or Cancer is. So depending where you are in the world, you might be more prone to having some adaptation difficulties depending on where you are on the Earth. So definitely look into that if you're interested in how the organs uh, and everything interact with the sleep circadian rhythm. Next, we'll talk about the movement. So by movement, I mean moving in nature. So we know that moving in nature is super important because nowadays we have flat surfaces. We're often wearing slippers in the home. And so Vivo Barefoot is an example. I'm not sponsored, but you'll see that um, moving in nature, our feet naturally are, adapting to the rocks, to the tree roots. And nowadays we don't have that. We're cushioning it with slippers, etc. And back in the day, we'd be able to, as hunter gatherers, we'd have our feet were more adapted, or they still are adapted, but we wouldn't have any cushioning between us and the ground. And you'll see that with people in Asia as well, like playing football, etc. However, with the event of the cowboy people in Native America, wearing these cowboy boots to fit in a saddle, or for example in China, wrapping up the women's feet to make it more desirable, or in the Middle Ages in Europe, wearing tight shoes for the rich people as a sign of status and wealth. So you'll see nowadays the trends come in for people since childhood to have nice slim feet. But as we know, even if you go to Asia nowadays, you'll see people have broad feet. And this is associated, I studied biomedical engineering, and you'll know that if you're familiar with the human gait cycle, so the way we walk, there's an XYZ force that's implemented on the ankle when we do a heel strike, when our heel strikes the ground. And that force implements on the ankle, that force travels to our knee, and that force travels to our hip. And so if we're striking a million times a year, many cycles a day walking, wearing inadequate foot shoes with the cushioning that is kind of numbing that force, then we are also not engaging certain stabilizer muscles, and our balance can be a bit off over time. And so really having shoes that benefit our biology is super important as well, and increases the grip strength of our shoes. So moving in nature and noticing how we're moving in nature, super important as well. So get out there, go for a walk. That's what we're made to do, and also gets the attention into the body. So going super quick through these as from our human origins, but just want to also talk about the way we eat as well. So how what we eat is really who we are, because that natural stuff from the earth, you know, goes into us, and it goes into our cells and it becomes us. So if you're not eating the right things, it can lead to a lot of inflammation. It can lead to a lot of buildup of atherosclerosis, heart issues, can lead to stroke issues. So just making sure you're getting that really natural diet, um, loads of fruit and veg, and just noticing, what you're eating? Can you get that naturally from the ground? Can you get that naturally from a tree? If you can, then chances are it's processed. So, looking at a packet, seeing if there's numbers on there, etc. And just again, noticing when you're eating food. Humans naturally had fasting periods. Even in religions, they had fasting periods. But even, when you're planting crops, there's going to be a fasting because depending on the seasons, there's not going to be much abundance sometimes. And so humans are made for that. And so having that big amount of uh, fast in the day, where you're then breaking the fast with breakfast, is important. So eating all your foods in a certain window of time, like 10 to 12 hours, and then going to bed, waiting 2 hours, going to bed, and then having that nice time where your body is able to fast and wake up again. And not really snacking in between to allow our body to completely digest and rest. And that just helps in the whole circadian rhythm of things. It has many, many benefits. So again, just looking up, Googling what's a natural diet versus processed and when can I eat? I recommend looking up Tim Spector, a podcast with him who goes super in depth about when we should eat and when we should not eat and types of food we can eat as well. And then hunter gatherers, stress and relaxation. So, no burnout issues among hunter gatherers. Again, pace of life, right? The pace of life nowadays is so fast, especially if you're in a system like the NHS. You may be strained for resources. You're maybe in a corporate setting with many emails coming in. This was not normal, 10,000 years ago. We were going at a slow pace of life. You know, maybe 1,500, 5,000 years ago with the ancient Greeks and Egyptians. They were having a civilization, but they had time to ponder, to contemplate, to think. Um, and then, even up until 100 years ago, people had time to think, be in the nature, and not get so burned out for their job. They had a natural pace, a natural rhythm of life that is in tune with the rhythm of nature. Nowadays, we used to have intermittent movement, which would blow off stress. Nowadays, we're sitting on a chair. We've got standing desks. Where if you're a doctor, you're stuck in these four walls of a hospital environment with beeping machines. If you're in an office, you're kind of stuck, and so that also plays into the stress. Now, a lot of spiritual people would say, you can dissociate from that and just find the well-being from within. And that is true. We can have these breathing techniques and techniques to be in line with yourself, but also we are humans and we can't, very hard for us to achieve that level of consciousness. So making sure that we are in line with our natural environment and just noticing that small things like looking into the horizon can decrease your cortisol and stress. Looking at the fractal patterns in nature, so the actual patterns in leaves and etc., and the way they are dispersed in nature can actually reduce our stress because that's how we've naturally evolved. So the small, small scientific evidences that we know intuitively that can actually decrease the stress levels. And so we are naturally prone to having stress, right, in the hunter gatherers society. But that's more spiking stress when we encounter an animal, rather than small, small incremental stress every day with email, phone call, and then it just bundling up. Maybe we go for exercise afterwards, and if we do that every day, we're putting a lot of stress on our bodies with little relaxation, and then we have to go for holidays. And hunter gatherers don't really need to go for holidays. And so, lastly, we'll just talk about the tribal community. So, having a community you'll see in all places, India, Africa, South America, indigenous cultures, right? You'll see amazing food, amazing dancing, amazing patterns that the people make on their clothes. And that all has a story, right? Mythology, a culture, and these networks allow people to share wisdom. Wisdom can get passed on, allows people to share the strain, to share the load. People can help out, raise each other's kids. Um, and just talk to each other. So if you look into sociology, if you look into psychology, you realize that having a tribe, even among a friend group, having a place where people can help one another, not just materially, but psychologically as well, because humans are a social species and we benefit so much from that. An example is if you're rejected from a tribe, your immune system will go down and you're actually more likely to have a flu or virus. Whereas if someone checks up on you, your immune system are more likely to be more resilient. So things like that, can you imagine what it's like on a higher level and how much people can help you psychologically there and what they can give you? I don't have all of the scientific evidence to hand, but listening to podcasts on this, on people who are researching communities, tribes, and society, it can help a lot. And nowadays, we've seen people more isolated than ever. They're lonely. They're just alone. But going out there, going to where people grow, like a dance class, that helped me. Like places you're interested in, building a group, building a society can help us a lot. And of course, that with our modern day, these things are becoming more and more dispersed. So I hope these 5 things, I hope to delve into that a bit deeper as we go in. But that was a brief overview, maybe like 15 to 20 minutes or so. We touched on sleep, we touched on movement, diet, stress and relaxation from hunter-gatherer times, how we normally had that as a natural pattern in our lives, and then the social system, how that benefited us as human beings, and how that just contributed to our happiness. Because I interviewed, for example, people dying, what did they regret? And one of the top regrets was not having that level of depth in their relationships. And we know that's one of the most fruitful things we can have as human beings. So I'll close it there, everybody. Remember to go slow, to go far, tuning out to your inside voice, going into the nature, and just going slow. Just remember to do that. So thank you again. I hope to do more wisdom exchanges. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up. Um, and hope to do more of these in the future. So have a good day, everybody. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.